Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Joy at Work. It's great to have you once again. Thanks for, taking the time to watch these videos. And remember, if you enjoy this content, subscribe so that you get the latest video whenever it comes out. In our last episode, I tried to distinguish between joy and happiness. And I kind of used the quote by J.D. Salinger to end that particular video, where he says, often too late, we discover that happiness is a solid and joy is a liquid, re-emphasizing the fact that joy, is fluid. It exists. It survives various conditions. We can have moments of happiness, moments of sadness, even moments of blah, and still have joy, because when we think about it, we're like, yes, I am satisfied or content with my situation. Hopefully that resonated with you to some degree. And as I ended that episode, I said there were three key things, three key factors or conditions that really influenced joy at work. And today I want to share them with you. You might not find these profound, you might not find these very special, but in my observation and my experience, I found out that these three things, more than any other things, for me at least, and candidly for quite a few people I've spoken to, influence whether we experience joy at work. So what are they? The first one is who you report to. The second one is who you work with. And the last, but not the least, is what you're working on. So let's take them one at a time. And over the course of different videos, we'll dig a little bit deeper into these different factors. But I want to explore them at least at a surface level to start off with. So let's go. Who you work for. Many studies show or propose at least that people do not leave jobs, they actually leave their managers. In many organizations, the reporting structure is set up such that an associate reports to somebody who's responsible ultimately for giving them direction or guidance or tasks or whatever it might be. Who you report to, or formally or informally, impacts significantly whether you experience joy at work, right? If you don't get along with whoever you call your manager or your leader or whatever the case may be, joy at work will be hard to attain, simply because you will not be aligned, right? So it's very important for us to establish early on, in any situation, in any job, what our values are and what the values of our manager or whoever we report to might be, and see if they're in harmony, if they align. In a future episode, we'll talk about the importance of values, but this is really important to consider who you report to. The second factor is who you work with, right? Who you work with is extremely important. Just reflect on your career and reflect on the great work experiences you've had. If you're like me, those experiences, when you think about them, reflect about them, you probably don't think about what you accomplished as much as you think about the folks that you worked with at the time, whether it's in the present or in the past. Think about LinkedIn, right? And all your connections on LinkedIn. These are all people you developed bonds and relationships with from working engagements in the past, right? So who we work with is extremely important and something we should pay attention to when it comes to joy at work. Again, who you report to, number one, and who you work with, number two. Last but not least is what you're working on. And again, there's enough research to show, and Ray Dalio in his book, Principles, Life and Work, if I got that, points out, like many other authors have pointed out, that when we do work that we find meaningful and impactful, it brings us joy, it brings us satisfaction. And this can be any type of work. It doesn't have to be anything special. It just has to be, for you, something that you find unique and meaningful and impactful. And so when we think about what brings us joy at work, there are those three really important factors: who we report to, who we work with, and what we're working on. And when any of those variables or factors or conditions is not ideal, it really begins to eat at us. Sometimes you can survive by being content with who you're working with and who you're reporting to, and just get by if the work isn't that meaningful. But in my experience, over the long haul, you begin to experience less joy at work. Work just becomes something you have to do, a means to an end, and you find a way to soldier through it. And so I want to encourage you tonight, as you think about joy at work and think about whether you're experiencing it or not, go through those three factors. How do you feel about those you work with? How do you feel about the person you report to? And how do you feel about the work you're doing? In subsequent episodes, we're going to dissect each one of those things a little bit more and talk about ways we can improve, change, or just do something about any of those factors that isn't where it needs to be at the moment. Again, thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe. I appreciate you all. Let's continue to look for ways to find joy at work. Thank you.